smartphone at meet.goto.com/town-of-Sturbridge/conservation. In order to call in, 1-646-749-3122. Access code is 819-169-093. Please remain mute at all times except when speaking. Okay, we're going to have a roll call. Start with you.
Carsten Stuber, present.
Sandra Romano present.
Roy Bishop, present.
Ed Dillon, present.
Nathan Lane, present.
Eric is not with us. Okay. Do we have any walk-ins?
Yes.
All right. Great.
You just give me a signal when you're ready for me to change.
All right, switching sides for a little bit here.
Should I read this first, or
Oh yeah, do you want to?
should I read this?
You can read it before, you can read it after this.
You can read it after this. Okay, that's good.
Okay. Nathan Lane, here on behalf of the Trails Committee, which I've been working with for a couple of years. So nothing to vote on this evening, but we are giving an update on Phase 2 of the Riverlands Trails and the proposal that we're putting out. There have been multiple proposals, one in November 22, one in August 23, but we did make a commitment this year as a committee to get Phase 2 off and running, so we've refined the proposal and just want to make sure we bring conservation up to speed for a first look and then next steps and what you should expect. So I'm going to go through a couple slides, but I'm going to keep us on time the best that I can. Go ahead to the next one. So we know Phase 1, but just as a review, Phase 1 has been complete for some time. That was Grand Trunk, Riverwalk, the Cistern Trail, and 3 of the flow trails. Our objectives was with this property: river access, more accessible trails, mountain bike flow trails, and eventual completion of the Grand Trunk between Stallion Hill and Holland Road. Worth calling out that Riverlands is our number 2 visited property in town, behind Leadmine. We average 500 to 600 unique visitors per month, and that spikes to about 800 in the summer and the fall. So just as an idea. Next slide. Our flow trails have actually made Riverlands quite a unique destination and built up the reputation for mountain biking in the town. There's nothing similar as far as these styles of trails within about 50 miles or so, so it's becoming more of a known destination within the community. It's driving a lot of out-of-town traffic into Sturbridge. Next slide. We have had some featured press around that, totally organically, not solicited. And we have also been able to form a point of view on the value of expanding these trails and the value of expanding mountain biking specific trails in town based on some economic studies and whatnot as well. So this is a priority for us. Next slide. As you all know, we're hosting the 2nd annual NEMBA event this year. You were made aware of that at the last or a couple committee meetings ago, as was the select board. So that's moving forward. Next slide. This is one of the important ones. There are a couple that I'll focus on. We've really solidified what our multi-phase Riverlands project looks like. So Phase 1 being complete, thinking about those 4 objectives for the property. We've made progress on each of those. Phase 2 is focused on increasing the river access, increasing accessible trails, and I'll highlight which ones contribute to those, finishing the mountain bike flow trails, and then further extending Grand Trunk. Phase 3 will be eventually focused on the completion of Grand Trunk, and that will be the end of what we intend to do with the Riverlands property from the Trails Committee perspective. So slide 7, next one here. This is our updated plan. What we are proposing is similar to the original proposals, refined a bit after Brandon and I spent some quality time picking ticks off of us in the woods and really getting boots on the ground with this side of the property. So We have an extension of the Grand Trunk up until the owned property that we have today. We have an addition to the Riverwalk that we have on the Quinnebog, so it extends that into a secondary loop. And then as far as the infrastructure goes related to the flow trails, we have what we would call the Gully Trail, and it's literally on a gully, and I'll show you pictures of that. But that is going to connect Grand Trunk all the way over to Holland Road, and that will be an ST1, single track, but about a 4-foot wide single track that we can bring a UTV or snowmobile on for maintenance or first response. And then from the top of the Cistern Trail, we're proposing 4 additional flow trails and a cistern extension that on the high side of the property goes all the way down to Holland Road as well. And the other part of this proposal is the additional 10 parking spots that we have in the CR to put on the Holland Road side. Part of the major revision in the proposal compared to the original Sinuosity proposal and the other versions that we've looked at as a town is that 2 of the 4 flow trails are going to be hand-built and not machine-built. So therefore, on that side of the property, we're looking to pull down the amount of impact that we're going to have on the environment, make those trails more natural and whatnot. But in general, it's pretty true to the original plan. But we're looking at 2 more machine-built trails that are in the same style of flow 1, 2, and 3, and then 2 additional that are more natural trails that are considered an ST3 as opposed to an ST2 in that case. We had considered the cistern extension being an ST1 all the way through. It's not the best thing for the land, so we're proposing that from the top of Cistern where it is today, cistern extension is an ST3, which will be appropriate for mountain biking and hiking. And again, lessening the impact to that side of the property.
Can you, sorry,
Please, yeah.
what is ST1?
So in our Trails Master Plan that's been in place since 2012 and got updated in 2022, we have a set of trail classifications that we have as a standard in town. GTT or Grand Trunk Trail is our widest gravel ADA accessible trail, usually about 10 to 12 feet. TT, Trek Trail, is 6 to 8 feet, typically gravel as well. And then ST1 is our smoother 4-foot wide machine built. ST3 gets us to about a 2 to 3 foot wide. ST2 is 2 to 3 foot wide. ST3 is about 2 foot wide. That also comes with retention of the more natural components of those trails as you move into those single track categories. So that's kind of an anchor point that we have whenever we talk about the trails in town, and we grade them in that way and build them in that way intentionally based on the master plan.
And so flow trail is what?
The existing flow trails are ST1s.
Why are they called flow?
So if you can go back to I think slide 3, the style of these trails and why they're called flow trails is because they're all downhill grade, and they have switchback turns, and they're really meant to be able to lay off the brakes and be able to have that sort of a flow experience. So they're more purpose-built in this case. So it's kind of a mountain bike term in this case that we'd call them flow trails. Yep. Okay, we can go back to slide 7. I'll distribute this so everyone can zoom in, take a closer look, let us know if you have any follow-up questions. But the only other things to call out here, there's a small cistern climber, which is on the kind of the right side of the existing phase 1 area. We're looking to just legitimize that as part of phase 2. It is on the property today. And then there's one neighbor access point off of Stallion Hill Road that we've supported that we would also legitimize and make sure it gets on the map. So it's completed there as well. Those are just kind of small details. The exact locations of the trails will, of course, we'll take into account all of our standards, all of what's in the master plan, all of what we abide by as far as trail density, space between trails, wildlife paths, access, etc. But the exact locations will be determined when we're out there and building the trails to minimize the impact as we go. But this is a pretty good snapshot of what we intend to do based on all the walks. From there, we can go to slide 9. One thing that is really positive about this side of the land compared to the phase 1 side, the water flow on phase 1 is very much sheeting. Is not funneled, it is not directional. That's been an interesting part of upkeeping this property, is figuring out drainage post-construction. This side of the property has existing drainage and gully infrastructure in which the water is isolated into the drainage coming downhill. So we can take advantage of that, and it's going to be much more predictable to maintain and build. And then any drainage crossings, we would look at putting footbridges in that are no wider than DEP permitting thresholds, similar to what we have on something like Mountain Laurel Trail in Lead Mine, some of those skinnier bridges and whatnot. And we usually just put 1-inch chicken wire over those to make sure they don't get slippery and that sort of thing. But none of those will need to be permitted. They're below the threshold as far as distance they're covering and the width of the crossing. So slide 10 is really just a breakdown of the inventory as far as phase 1, what's there today, phase 2, what's proposed, and the total mileage is going to go from about 3 miles, well, it's 3 miles today. We'd be moving to 6.5 to 7 based on this phase. And it will add the parking lot on Holland Road. And the clearing of the parking lot will be as minimal as it can be, but we have to have a turnaround area because obviously you cannot back out onto that downhill on 148 on Holland Road. That's pretty dicey over there. Last slide is our construction timeline, assuming all goes well. This is what we're working around, which is this month is an initial heads up for all of you here. And then we'll from here get this in front of the select board, and we'll also I'm going to connect with police and fire to review the first responder plan, and so they're aware of how we're addressing that in the property, see if they have any input, just as we've done on the others. I'm going to try to be ready to be on the official agenda for our meeting in 3 weeks for an actual vote, and although that may not happen until a little bit further out because I would be coming in with select board feedback, police and fire feedback, and OPACUM feedback. OPACUM does have a 45-day window, so I think what's appropriate for this committee is that once I have feedback from everyone, I'll come back, present that, and then we can make a formal vote on the proposed phase 2 plan. But we are working through that in June, July, and August. So you'll see me on the agenda for this topic at some point when we have all of that feedback. And then we hope to break ground in September and work September, October, November as our first construction window, and then tie it off in the spring in March and April and have phase 2 be complete at that point in time.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Can you show the map of the trails?
Yep, 7.
Yes. So are all these trails for mountain bikes, or are there designated trails for walking? I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's a great question.
People walking on like some bike coming down at speed.
So the flow trails have signage up there where they are one-way trails, and they're called out as being mountain bike downhill flow trails. Typically, the way the property is used today is that our pedestrian traffic and horse traffic stays on the lower areas of the property. We don't see those users typically going up on those flow trails because they're labeled well and they're directional. One of the discussions that we had was whether that gully trail was necessary or if we should hold back and see how the progression of the Grand Trunk Trail goes and have the flow trails go directly onto the Grand Trunk. Your point is exactly why we're not going to do that, which is the gully trail acts as the exit and return to the Cistern climbing trail for the flow trails, and then the Grand Trunk acts as the main pedestrian and equestrian area. So we separate those two recreational uses, and we never have those incidents in which someone is coming down those trails at a good rate of speed and someone else is walking. It's the same reason we don't have that problem on the property today, because we've kind of isolated those two uses.
Okay, so the walking, like people walking will go like through the Gaudi Trail.
Yep.
And not using the blue and the.
Yeah, I mean, they could absolutely use the gully trail. We would make sure it's signed. We would also make sure on all of the flow trails we give like, the 100 or 200 feet warning of like you're approaching the end of the trail, slow down, that sort of thing. It's easy enough to manage in that way. Eventually, when the property is finished and the Grand Trunk Trail extends all the way to Holland Road, that will be a very clear separation. Yeah.
Just like for usability of like multi-uses, like walking
Yes.
and biking.
Exactly. Yep. And I appreciate the time. I know it's unofficial on the agenda, but any
No,
other
we have
questions for
time
now?
it. We have time.
Okay.
Lauren, anything?
I've already made my comments.
What?
I said I've already made my comments.
Okay.
We had a good pre-read with Lauren.
Yeah, I don't have any comments. Looks great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. In the interest of saving time, the Sturbridge Conservation Committee will hold all public hearings tonight for work within a wetland water body or resource area and/or within the 200-foot buffer zone to a wetland water body or resource area in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and associated regulations, and the Town of Sturbridge wetland bylaws and associated regulations. We will not be reading the newspaper ad. Prior to opening the first hearing for each project, the applicant is to submit proof of notification to abutters within 200 feet of the subject property line and proof of legal newspaper's advertisement. If these items are not submitted, the public hearing will not open. Additionally, prior to the start of each public hearing, we will announce the location of the project, the applicant and the applicant's representative. If any of the visitors have not legibly signed in yet, please do. If any of the visitors are recording this meeting, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're at 6 p.m. Open the public hearing. Request for determination of applicability for 3 New Boston Road extension. The owner is the town of Sturbridge. Applicant, Representative Andrew St. George, Sturbridge Parks and Rec.
We cannot open that hearing due to failure to advertise.
What?
We cannot open the hearing due to failure to advertise.
Still because, still no, hasn't been advertised?
They didn't pay for the ad, no.
Is there a reason why not? Because this is the second meeting.
Didn't have an
that-
account open yet.
Yeah, it was accounting issues with the Telegram and Gazette.
Okay, all right. Oh, we're on to, anybody have a problem with that? 6:10, open the public hearing for a notice of intent for 136 Podunk Road. The owner applicant is Abal Ahmed, Representative Seth LaJoy and Associates, DEP file number 300-1230. All right.
Good evening. I'm Seth LaJoy. I'm here representing Bulbul Ahmed, who's my client. This is a property that is located at 136 Podunk Road. We have a very, very limited area on this particular site. As you can see, it's a very deep lot. Majority of it is wetland. It's relatively skinny. We are proposing an alternative technology septic system within the 100-foot buffer zone. So basically what he's looking to do there is he's looking to completely upgrade this entire property, including removing a bunch of
Some chairs here.
debris and just garbage that's been left there over the years. So, I mean, he inherited quite a mess on that piece of property. And I believe that he has been, taking some of that detritus out of the backyard already by foot, just trucking it up. So basically, what he's going to do is he's going to clean up that entire area and also construct the septic system at the same time. And work our way out of the property, and he'll be upgrading the existing two-bedroom house as well at that point. Commission have any questions, concerns, comments?
So this project is just about the septic?
It's the septic and the cleanup of the debris that's down in the wetland and resource area.
About the house?
For the most part, it's not about the house. The building department has approved a building permit for the house. There is nothing proposed on the exterior of the building, and I have communicated that if any exterior work, including replacement of the stairs or the deck, does need to be permitted through conservation, either through a separate filing or through an amendment. There has been some debris that has been removed by hand at the request of the fire department. That there was just concerns of what was there, and that's being properly disposed of in dumpsters. For the most part, what's there now is bulk debris, like plastic lawn chairs, random bottles on site. So it will take some work, but I would recommend that all debris cleanup be done by hand and properly disposed of. As far as the site goes, I'm impressed, maybe is the word, that the house is still able to stand and that it did not need to be a raise and rebuild. And that's kind of just where that situation lies.
If we look at the technology, Seth mentioned something about new technology.
I mean, it's a Presby system is what we're proposing there. It's basically what will fit in, given the high water table on the site. We have a slightly reduced footprint from a normal-sized leaching bed, and the way that you determine where breakout is on these systems is a little bit different with the Presbys, and it allows you to measure it from the bottom of the pipe as opposed to the top of the stone. So we were able to save about a foot of fill going down towards the wetland. We utilized a polyethylene barrier, which will allow us to cut back on the fill, go out 5 feet instead of the normal 15 feet, and then 3 to 1. And it will also act as a barrier, a physical barrier for the effluent on the downslope side towards the wetland. So keep it contained in the sand area of the system.
I would also like to add too that it's noted on the detailed, but back in 2014, the Board of Health pursued legal action against the previous owner for Title V requirements and trying to get this updated, and there was never any action or resolution. The recent change of hands in ownership, obviously the Board of Health is supportive of replacing this system since this is something that they've been fighting for 11 years.
Nate, anything?
I haven't seen this one, so I don't have questions on it.
All right. A few questions. Access to the site is going to be where?
So the way that this is going to have to take place is it's going to have to be in between those two buildings, and it's basically going to be done with a skid steer.
So it's on your neighbor's property,
Yes, that she has given the
right here?
yes, she's given permission to access through that area.
Alrighty.
What we'll do is we'll stockpile up near the existing driveway here, and then it'll have to be trucked back, basically one bucket at a time.
Now, you've got talking about no new house or anything, but that looks to me like a proposed plan for a new house.
No.
It says existing, but.
It is.
So it's not overlapping this?
No, that's a porch area that's coming off the back of the main structure of the building.
Yeah. What's the distance between the system and the well?
The system in the well, it's over 100 feet. You can see the 100-foot radius right there, the red 100-foot radius.
You have no room to move it back
No.
further toward the road? All right. Anybody else? No? Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
You want to ask anybody else?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Online?
I have a question.
Yep.
So,
Sorry, name and address for the record, and if you wouldn't mind going up.
Mary Ann Bean, 148 Pahrump Road. And I'm probably maybe out of context here, but I've seen a lot of construction inside the house and on the roof, demolition and reconstruction on, fascia boards and roof stuff like that. And yes, the cleanup has been phenomenal. We did see originally several 40-foot containers or 20-foot containers come in and take the debris out. There was an outbuilding in the back, and that was knocked down several months ago, and that debris was brought up forward and put into containers and stuff. But I don't see a building permit on the front of the house in any way, shape, or form.
I will notify the building inspector. I know they do have a building permit, but I will notify him that it's not visible from the property.
But other than that, that's kind of tight for that septic.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the previous fellow was ill. He had heart condition. He passed away, but, yeah. I'm glad to see it's at least have something done. But you're not worried about it getting into into the wetlands, that septic?
Well, we're always worried about it,
Yeah.
but within the guidelines that we have, this is good, and the Presby system has been an improvement, so.
So I saw on there, it said something about poly something or other, so it's like a self-contained.
It's a
kind
pool
of-
liner, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I wanted to ask.
Good questions.
Thank you.
You don't want to join the board, do you?
Do not step forward.
Yeah, I'll have to hit her over the head.
All right. With that, do I have a motion?
Make a motion for the project at 136 Podunk Road that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Oh, go ahead.
Good.
I'll second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Saint Germain in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor.
Ed Gooder in favor?
Nathan Lane in favor?
With regard to the project at 136 Podunk Road, DEP file number 300-1230. Make a motion that we
Is it
approve.
1, 2, 3, 6?
136.
1230 on this one, 1230.
Okay, all right.
Yep, that we approve the project under the Mass Wetlands Protection Act.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Any discussion? Seeing none, go ahead.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Saint Germain in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor.
Ed Gooder in favor?
Nathan Lane in favor?
All right, one more with regards to the project at 136 Podunk Road, DEP file number 300-1230. Make a motion that we approve it under the Sturbridge Wetland bylaws.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Saint Germain in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Nathan Lane in favor?
The 20-foot, 25-foot buffer?
We're missing a motion?
So the 25-foot buffer, should we?
Yes, a waiver is required for the 20-foot disturbance for the debris cleanup. We can add that in.
I can do that on.
Yeah.
So in regards to the project at 136 Podnak Road, DEP file number 300-1230, I make the motion to, what is it? There's a waiver for temporary disturbance within the 25-foot buffer zone.
Second.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
German in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor.
He's not here.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Nathan Mooney in favor?
Thank you.
Seth, are you going to pick that up? Is the homeowner going to pick it up, or do you want it mailed?
Why don't you just let me know when it's ready and
See if
we'll,
you're in the area?
yeah.
Okay, we'll do that.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. Appreciate it.
We're now at 6:20. Request for determination of applicability for 39 Mashpog Road. Applicant Representative Mark Greenhill Engineering, SCC file number 25-69, proposed septic system. Hey, Mark.
Good evening. New setup.
What?
New setup.
Oh, hey, Lauren's all
No
about
pointer
change.
over here.
What?
No pointer over here.
Well, we knew you were coming. We were trying to keep the meeting short.
Is there another one?
There wasn't one in the box.
Thank you. This is septic repair on Mashpog Road. River Road's down here. If you're heading up towards the old Roy Rogers, be on the left-hand side. There's an existing 3-bedroom house here. They're selling the house. The gentleman who was there passed away, and they didn't pass Title V. So we're proposed to put in a new compliant Title V system. The existing system is a tank close here. This portion of the building over on here was an addition. So that's why the building is so close to the tank. I think they put the addition on after the tank was in. And then there's a leach field in here, and existing leach field didn't pass. We have a drilled well up here in this corner, and then on below the property, there's a vegetated wetland. This whole lot was filled back a long time ago, and so this is a slope down the edge of the fill down to the wetland. So the 100-foot radius from the well, we could have looked to put it in this area here. That would have beat the 100 feet from the well, but there's a big massive tree here, like 48-inch
Yeah, beautiful.
maple.
Yep.
So they were going to need a pump anyway, because the plumbing comes out so low here, we can't change it because it's underneath the slab and underneath the garage floor. So we can't raise the plumbing anywhere in the house. We have to deal with what's there. So we got to put a pump in. So we put it up in this corner here. It's off the side of the driveway. This is a 50-foot mark, this blue line from the edge of the wetland. This is all wooded and not filled. This is all original terrain in here. So we're going to put a Presby system in here. That's the system that would require the least amount of disturbance to the site and the smallest footprint. And so there'll be some minor grading on the downhill side, but it meets the 100 feet from the well and it's 50 feet from the wetland. And there's one small tree here, I believe, that's got to come down. This is in an existing kind of lawn, if you want to call it that. It's not really a grassy,
Yep.
it's kind of mostly moss and.
All right. Any questions?
My initial question before seeing the site was going to be if the system could be moved to that area closest to the road, but having been to the site, that kind of answered it myself. Same with just the position of the existing septic. Seeing the conditions kind of answered those for me. For the one tree that's being removed, I'd like to offer a recommendation of replacement for that one tree. And the one concern that was brought up on site, at the top of the slope at the edge of the 50-foot buffer, there's an area where there is yard waste and debris that's being dumped over, and which is prohibited from our bylaw. It's about in this area here.
Is that a dog barking?
Someone's mic's on. So, recommendation to have that debris removed and put it within the conditions that any further disposal of yard waste either be at an approved location further from the resource area, or that it just be removed from the site completely.
Okay, so say that again, I missed that. There's yard waste here?
It's about at the top of the slope, about right here. Pile of, grass clippings, tree trimmings and whatnot. Within the buffer, and it is eroding down the slope towards that stream that is down below. There was also discussion on site for the wetland in the back if it qualifies as a stream instead of a wetland.
Well, it does flow. It's definitely an intermittent stream. There's one that comes from across the street over here, and then there's actually kind of a spring that originates over here and then kind of flows down this one, and then this whole area is just kind of like a wetland back in there, and they kind of co-join, but it's not a perennial stream. So it would just be, and we're not gonna be altering it or be near it, or there's no way to avoid it. That the one starts here, and it's just the whole place is riddled with original kind of streams that are kind of coming together.
Yeah, we saw it. We've been there. you know.
Yeah.
The,
Sorry I couldn't have
I
been
don't
on the
think we
site
want-
visit. I already had a previous perk scheduled.
oh, we would have waited for you. Well, I don't think we're having a debate over perennial versus intermittent here. But what we're having a debate about is dumping on the hillside
Right,
above it.
right.
That's what we'd like to not have happen.
Okay.
And
Well, they're selling it. The guy who did it, all the dumping there is passed away.
We'd add it as a perpetual condition, which I typically do
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
but we'll follow up
But,
on that.
yeah, I know the whole site's kind of riddled with it. I mean, I walked down this banking through the bamboo there, what's it called? That invasive bamboo.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name of it.
Japanese knotweed?
What's that?
Japanese knotweed?
Japanese knotweed, thank you.
Yeah.
So there's all Japanese knotweed down through here and leaves and everything else. There's actually a canoe down there too. The guy flipped the canoe over when he was canoeing in Maine, and he was mad, and he gave it a shove down. So I'm actually gonna go get the canoe out of there because I think it might still be good. It's not an Old Town canoe. Actually, it might be an Old Town canoe, but it's not but it's down the bottom of the slope here, and there's all kinds of stuff from years of, throwing stuff over the banking.
Yeah. Well, that's the agent's point. We don't want that.
Right.
All right, anything else? No? Carson?
I'm fine.
Laura?
I'm fine if they can do some of the cleaning of the water, that would be great.
Nope. No, I don't have anything either. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Want me to?
Sure.
So in regards to the project at 39 Marshbrook Road, SEC file number 25-69, I made a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Roy seconds. Any discussion? Anybody in the audience like to speak to this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Carsten Stieber in favor.
San Germani favor.
Rob Bishop in favor?
They did it.
Nathan Lane in favor?
Great.
In regards to the project at 39 Marshbrook Road, SEC file 2569, I make a motion to issue a negative determination pursuant to the Wetland Protection Act and Sturbridge Wetland Bylaw,
I second that.
with the conditions that are stated in the detailed agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Carsten Stieber in favor.
San Germain in favor.
Ed Bishop in favor?
Edgar in favor.
Nathan Lane in favor.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Nice seeing you, Mark. All right, we're now at 6:30. Open the public hearing for a notice of intent for 57 Bennett Road. Owner applicant is Danny Minchoff. EP file number 300-1237. Proposed project is landscaping project.
Good evening. So, this represents basically three.
State your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, newbie here.
Yeah,
Dan Minchoff, 57 Bennett's Road.
not for us, it's for the cameras.
Okay. Dan Minchoff, 57 Bennett's Road. So we have three areas of our yard that we're trying to tidy up. And one of them, I'll start with the one closest to the water there, which is within that 25-foot buffer. Right now, we have some scraggly grass there. We have a flower bed where those plants are closest to the house there. However, down between between there and the water, it's kind of not a very nice lawn area, but it's just kind of tracks in a lot of mess when we're going back and forth. So we would like to make that look a little bit more formal and nicer. So we're working with Landscape Evolution, and we're trying to do the least, he's doing something called Goshen stone, which is set in crushed stone, I guess, so it's more permeable, and it's not a solid like poured deck or anything like that. So there's a little bit, those are just stepping stones coming from the bottom of our the stairs, I don't know how to use this thing, but there we go. These are stairs coming down from here over to an entrance to the house here. It's just stepping stones, and then around the front we have a three-season room here, and that goes over to this other area here, and then that's just a little bit of a patio we have a fireplace there now, just a makeshift with a fire pit, and we'll put an actual fire pit there. I forget the name of it, but it's one that's smokeless, I guess, or there. And then over here in this corner here there was a pile of debris there that we inherited. Just kind of, I think that the previous owners used it just to throw sticks and things there, but we've kind of added to it a little bit, and we put it from there to the burn pile when we have a fire. But we want to put a shed here because other than that, there was really nothing here, and we have no storage. So there's a little bit of storage under this porch here, but other than that, we have very limited storage. So some place to put things over the winter, and that's what's planned for down there. Then, you want me to go to the next section?
Go ahead, you can go through the whole thing.
Okay. Then on this side here, if you come up the top of the stairs here, there's a banking here that he's proposing to us, and we like the idea of just a short wall here to neaten that up, and try to prevent sometimes when the water is when we have a lot of rain, we'll get it from the road, and it'll come down through this bed here and down the banking, and we get a lot of debris down there. So this is to try to remediate some of that, slowing it down so it'll go into the soil more. So it's just basically a very short wall, 1.5 inch stones retaining wall there. And then on this side, if you come over here, right now we have a bank in here that's very difficult to get up and down. So we'd like to, there was a walkway over there, but over here, this is where our generator is, and we have to access this area quite a bit, and it's very tough to get down here. So he's proposing these stairs, And also, our water softener system comes right out of the house here, and it goes, they just stuck a tube out the house, and that's where it went. So we had it and put into a downspout when we, so that it's not splashing against the house, because the water was making putting rust all over the house and things. So now we put it in there, but still it flows down, and we're trying to, I don't know what that's called, a back flush drain pit there. So it'll, when it exits that gutter, it'll go into this little pit, almost like a small mini river going through here to a pit here, and hopefully alleviate it going any further than that. And at the top of the hill, right here, we have our trash barrel, we have our propane tanks right here, propane tank right here, and we have our trash barrels right here. It's a little cutout I put here. So what we're proposing here is to try to make that, put a piece of fence here, put our trash behind it so it's a little more private, and see it's not so visible from the road. And that's what this is. It's just a little cutout to put the trash in there. And I believe that's all three sections.
So I guess I'll kind of work opposite way down. There is signs of erosion coming down from this way, probably most likely from the disturbance of, stormwater runoff, but also just foot traffic coming down. The water softener, there is a lot of erosion occurring within this, I don't know if you want to refer it as a garden bed area or contained area. There's a lot of erosion here going across. You can also see where it disperses through the vegetative line into the lake. We were also able to observe on site a lot of mineral deposits from the sodium buildup, the calcium sodium buildup that's occurring in that area. I would definitely recommend a holding tank to mitigate the softener, or switching to something potassium based. You can also put some limestone in that area too to help mitigate some of the salt loss. I've been trying to go through existing permits. When was the water softener installed?
About 10 years ago.
Okay,
Right when we moved
because I
in.
was trying to find it, there was at that time, I believe you had a order of conditions for a whole home improvement plan, and it doesn't specifically call out the water softener, but it does look like that was done around that same time, but I couldn't
When the well was
identify
put
it.
in, whenever the well was put in,
Okay.
that's when they did.
Okay, so there was a notice of intent for the well, so my assumption would be that whenever that certificate of compliance was issued for that project, whoever did that inspection probably just thought it was roof runoff and maybe did not realize what that discharge pipe was. But that is something that we do, need to have some concern about because of what it's depositing into the lake. If you notice in front of your shoreline there, you have a lot of vegetation, so it's pretty weedy in front of you, and that could be one of the contributing factors to that as well. So I think that needs to be addressed. This area within the front is within the floodplain zone. I would be hesitant on what we're adding as far as any type of what could eventually become impervious surfaces, which a lot of patios tend to be after they've settled and had a lot of, traffic and disturbance on them. I would also recommend some shoreline stabilization. There's some mulch along the side, but you can see that over time that there probably was a more profound boulder wall that has just kind of dilapidated over the years, and with that there's erosion occurring. Some methods to mitigate that could be, the coconut-based fiber cord log, which still allows vegetation to grow through. It provides a lot more stabilization, it holds really well, and it takes really quickly, but something similar, or revising a plan to actually, build up that natural stone wall, because you are going to continue with boat traffic on the lake, and also it being a floodplain. And I can't tell exactly how far back onto the land that floodplain zone goes, but with that area too, you're going to continue to get water up in that area. The shed and this whole patio area, I have some questions on the grading and how much grading needs to be done, if Phil's coming in, and kind of what that final grade is going to look like, especially with that shed area. Behind the retaining wall here, I understand wanting to stabilize an area, you're at the bottom of a hill, so water goes downhill. It's going to run that way. I'm concerned about this tree having its root systems impacted by the wall. While I understand the wall, I think it would also be important to try and have some type of additional measures behind the wall, whether it's backfilled with gravel or putting some type of French drain too, because if you're just adding a retaining wall, surface water will go off, but any groundwater is just kind of going to work its build up behind that area. So you might want to have something that's going to kind of lessen that impact to kind of do what you're looking for it to kind of get that benefit that you really want from it. Short term, the retaining wall, you know, like I said, surface water will run off, groundwater will build up behind, but in the long term, I feel that you might be needing to replace that sooner than later, just because of the impact that you're going to have. There were some DEP comments on the wetland flagging in BVW, which we typically see with the lakefront properties that haven't been properly delineated. I think the line was fairly straightforward. And for the stone steps, if the steps are going into the water, I'm surprised it's not on the DEP comments, but that's going to need a Chapter 91 filing if you're doing stone steps going into the water.
No,
So where are the steps going into the water?
there's no stone
Okay.
steps going into the water. We have a ramp from our dock that comes up to the shore. If you probably saw it there.
Right.
We won't be putting it. And we wouldn't want to do anything along the shore. We have a lot of, some fast boats on that small lake, and they just won't last. People have tried to put retaining walls up, and they just don't last. Over time, they just get deteriorated. I can speak to the shed if you want me to. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
The shed is a plastic, is a poly shed. It's not made out of wood. It's just going to be I don't want to have to have any maintenance down there. I just kind of wanted it to be something I could store in. So the plan was to build a platform to put it on, and then support it with these. They were telling me about these cement blocks that you can put the post into, so you're not digging in, and the upper side, we would go on that would probably be the level, and then we change the post height on the other side to level it out. So there's not going to be we're not going to pour anything down there, or, we weren't even going to add any stone under it or anything. The only thing I can imagine is maybe if we need it, a ramp coming off of it. I don't know how high it's going to, the finished grade of it will be, but that's the only thing. Is just somehow to get in and out of it, the shed.
Okay.
One of the other questions when I was on site, beyond all of what Lauren mentioned, was the steps coming down the hill on the water softener side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of exposed roots there now. So I have a question as to how that's going to be navigated. Is there going to be any disruption to those root systems? How will those steps actually be installed in context of what's there today?
Okay, I know that I really don't know exactly, but it's not a wood, they're not wood steps, they're stone steps, and I don't know how much of that he has to take out.
Yeah, just in general, because it's probably root systems, assuming that's the property line,
Mhm.
it's probably root systems from your abutting property as well.
Possible, yes.
And I think overall, just the general, I think the general sentiment was, more detail in the plan that really addressed especially those grading questions, specifically on the water side, just because those areas where the Goshen stone patio is proposed, you would think there would need to be more leveling compared to what's there now, and that leveling could have a further positive impact on the amount of water that flows down in general across the property today.
No, he mentioned that the leveling will be done with the stone base. He wasn't planning on bringing any soil in or anything.
I think we'd just be looking for those details.
Yeah.
Did you read his written blurb? I thought he mentioned it in
Okay.
it.
I apologize if I missed it.
The,
I'll pull that up, I'll let that in a minute, I'll let you go back to this.
yeah, my impression with it, Danny, first of all, I'd be surprised if this committee would allow you, we have a new structure in the 25-foot zone. So I can't see us allowing you to put that shed in, period, okay? That's one, and it doesn't matter whether it's plastic, steel, wood, or whatever, we're no new structure. The, I empathize with you along the lake edge, though. I mean, I don't know if there are some experts out there, if you could get an engineer to do a full plan for what you want, you're not far off, but first of all, you can't send your water softener residue into the lake. Okay, and that's what you're doing right now. I know you've quasi attempted not to.
I tried several times with the
Yeah.
company, and they said this is how they do it everywhere. They didn't want to touch it, so,
Well, it's like bank robbers.
so I did the best I could at the time, and then I,
But that needs to be corrected. That's a violation of the Wetland Protection Act to do that. And it's a damage to the lake. And so this is a good time to do it. The steps on the side, I think I'm going to be redundant, but we need a plan, a detailed plan for the things you want to do, if you want to do them. They're a little bit vague, as you can see from here, even in explaining them. But and as far as the patio is concerned, we'd need an engineered plan on that too, because it's not going to be angling toward the water, obviously. So and it has to be an elevation. It has to be a size. I think those are the things.
I understand. Yes, I tried to do this the right way. We have this all over our lake, and I tried to do it the right way, and this is where I'm at right now, so I know, I had a feeling this was going to happen.
Yeah, well, it's the way that we operate. We can't.
I understand.
So, anybody else have any comments?
No, my comments were like similar to what was already mentioned in terms of a little bit more detail on like how much grading will need to be done. You mentioned like the filling, but it's going to be digged and a level or like fill on the side of the lake. And also a little bit more information on distances, so how far is the house from the pond and the width of the pathways and so on. So just a bit more detail on these things, but I agree that there is not a lot of room between the construction and the lake, so it's like a tough one on that side. But with more information, we can make a better or a more informed decision.
So would you like a continuation to come back to us?
I mean, you can't put the shed on top, or, I mean, somewhere here.
Probably. It's just the water, the usage, things, be nice to have them down by the
I
water.
mean, it's a nice location, use-wise,
It's a
but
private area, it's covered by trees on the water side, and
it's
it's
just directly at the lake.
It's tucked in there.
If you could put it here or there or something.
Okay? We'll consider that, thank you.
Caller 3.
So,
Continuation.
all right, will I get some sort of I just listen to the recording, or do you give me some sort of a written of what you need further? Or is this it?
Do you want a continuation to June 26th or the next meeting after that?
No, I need to get this done, so let's go to the next meeting.
So if you
Yeah.
continue to June 26th, all new materials would have to be submitted a week prior to that, which is the 19th, and actually we're closed on the 19th, but I would accept it the following day. So that would give you 2 weeks to kind of address all of these comments. with the extent of the comments, I would recommend going out into July, but that's just, it's depending on how long it's gonna take you to, you know, make the proper contacts and,
Do you have an engineer to do?
I have a contractor who did this. Landscape Evolution.
or do they have the abilities to be able to get the measurements and the grades and,
I'm hoping I can push for that, yes.
okay.
So you want to try for the next meeting? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Continue to the next meeting?
To June 26th?
Yeah.
So in regards to the project at 57 Bennett Road, DEP file number 300-1237, make the motion for a continuation to June 26th.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
San Germain in favor.
Joe Bishop in favor?
Nathan Lane in favor?
And if it looks like you're not getting there and you need one more meeting, just call her and you can push it out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Bump Road Project. Open the public hearing for a request for amendment, order of conditions, DEP file number 300-1200, approved project, transmission line, replacement, installation of new poles, and tree removal.
The applicant is requesting a continuation to June 26th.
And the reason for the continuation?
They need to have some internal discussions between the consultant and National Grid regarding the existing order of conditions, and the decisions are made at the last meeting. And also there was an abutter that was not notified in the 41-page list.
Okay. All right.
So I think we made the motion for continuation in regards to the project, Borden Road, DEP file number 300-1200, make the motion to continue the public hearing to June 26th.
I second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
San Germain in favor.
Joe Bishop in favor?
Ed Gooder in favor?
Nathan Lane in favor?
We're on to notice of intent for 263 New Boston Road. The owner is Five Star Realty Trust. Applicant representative, EBT Environmental, DEP file number 300-1166. Proposed project is a new single-family home. Okay?
The applicant is requesting a continuation to June 26th to be able to provide detailed information on the replication area and the vernal pool restoration. And also, we need Eric to be able to vote. Lori and I will review for qualified votes because I think it was just down.
I'm not there June 26th.
You're not June 26th, so it might even have to get, and then we're going back to confirm who's eligible. Roy, off the top of your head, do you remember if you're eligible to vote for this one?
No.
Okay, we're working on getting that information too, so we'll work with Glenn to figure out when we're getting you on, so he has the proper quorum, or if we need to move the avenue that, you know, we close the hearing and reopen the hearing, so all members are eligible to vote. So internally, we'll work on that, and we'll also work with Glenn to keep him in the loop of that as well.
All right.
What things do they have there?
Okay, we're now at,
Make a motion.
So Khaled to
Make
make
a
the motion, but I cannot make the motion. You,
Oh, I have to make the motion?
you have to
Oh,
make the motion.
continue.
I move to make a motion, I make the motion for 263 New Boston Road, DEP file number 300-1166, to move towards the June 26 meeting.
All right, have a second?
We cannot do second or anything.
I'll second it.
Yeah, second.
I'm here.
For continuation, that's gonna have to depend, everyone else will, if we can just get a vocal abstain.
And we actually even move to,
You can with a continuation, yes, but if we,
All in favor?
if
okay,
the other,
Carsten Stuber in
if
favor.
the other three can,
San Germain abstains.
yeah, there we go.
What Bishop, I think.
Abstain.
You're in favor?
Yes.
In favor?
Yep, abstain.
Oh, sorry, abstain.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We are now at notice of intent for 346 Lead Mine Road.
Three, Roy did too.
Services LLC, applicant representative Dave Sadowski, EP file number 300-1226.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, and listening public. My name is David Sadowski. I'm the principal of DJ and Associates. With me tonight is Elias Montero, who's here representing AJ Services. Since our last meeting, we performed several tasks. We've moved the house location so it's outside the 50-foot zone. It's at 51 feet now. Underneath it, we were going to have last time we were here, we were going to put a house raised up like you'd see by the ocean. Now we're going to go with a single bay garage and crawl space under the rest of the building. We've submitted some architectural plans too, but we've, in the area, of course, we've got all different types of plantings at the 25-foot line, and we're proposing boulders to make a permanent demarcation of the buffer zone. The house itself, I said, now sits outside the 50. The stairs down are outside the 50. The rooftop recharge is outside the 50. What we've basically done is the back end will be crawl space and the front would be a garage slab. I know there was some architectural sent. If we could take a look at those, you can see a side view. We specifically show the driveway only comes up on the right side of the building, and there'll be no parking in front or on the left side of the building.
I think this one's it, right?
If you can just stop the path, go back to,
Fine.
yeah. You can see how there's an opening only on the bottom left. Let me get my pointer. I got my own. You know, with COVID and everything, I bring my own stuff. Down here, there's only a one bay opening, which will allow just for cars on this side. This is the 51-foot distance to the wetland. We can continue. First floor would be regular kitchen, dining, living room, and the bedrooms would be on the second floor. If we can go a little further. I think there's a side view I wanted to show of just how the garage would work. It would be, it would look something like this. The garage would be in this area here. Continue. I think another one, Lauren. Yeah, right here. So this would be the garage bay, and the foundation would be in this area only. Up in here, there'd be one of those piles. We haven't been able to investigate what's in the side of the hill because it's in the 100-foot buffer, and we can't bring a machine in there to check it out. It'd be against the rules. So we do know that we able to, there's a level area here that will support about 15-foot wide, so we'd be able to put a 12 to 13-foot wide foundation in this area. And then we'd have a retaining wall up in the back that shows on the site plan. We've extended, we heard Lauren's concerns, we extended the retaining wall 10 to 15 feet out from the edges of the house. We can see that on the site plan, just in case we can get it down in that area to help stabilize the whole slope. But this would be the configuration. What would happen, you would come out of the garage and come up the stairs and go into the house.
Okay.
Go back to the site plan.
So up in this area, we talk about having a retaining wall at the back of the house. I'm not sure exactly how far that's going to extend out, but we'd like to get it across the whole back and put an interceptor swale up on the top side here for runoff that comes down.
Can I ask a
Go
question?
ahead, Yes.
The plan shows the house. Can you give us a sense of what is the area that is going to be cleared for the construction? Is it going to be only that footprint, or is going? I see the erosion and the planting of trees near the 25-foot line, but I don't see where like the area of disturbance.
Yeah, you're correct, I don't show, inadvertently, I don't show. It would be in this area here, but it could be added to the plan.
So you said you couldn't investigate the structure of the soil or rocks that you want to dig in? And
Well, we couldn't bring a machine back to dig mechanically because it's in the 100-foot buffer.
right, so how do you want to do that? Once
So
we,
when we file and go back there to start the construction, we will. But right now, we show the different posts that we would have, and this would end up being a crawl space under here. If we were fortunate enough to be able to get down 7 or 8 feet, we'd put a foundation wall there.
but do you think you could, do you have to blast or?
No. No. No, they have those sonotube, in lieu of a sonotube, they have those helical piles, and the pile would just go in and it would act as a support. So in that effect, this would be a crawl space, and down in here, we'd have a full foundation wall across right here. So that area would be protected, and then we'll have to put a retaining wall up here so water won't travel underneath the building, or snow melt runoff. And actually, by moving the house back, this 8-inch oak won't have to go. This 7-inch might, and there's another one up in here. But those would be, these 6 in this area here will compensate for this one and for this one right here.
That area between the 25 and the 50 is not cleared.
No.
So they are planted within the.
Oh, there's all kind of mountain laurel, there's all kind of, it's lush with vegetation all through there. We're just proposing to give more trees and act as a buffer. So it'd be noted where that 25-foot line is in the future. Because the wetland's out here.
Where's the well?
Then we put a sump next to it for spills when you come up.
Did you dig the well?
No. No, we haven't had permission to go in the 100-foot buffer.
So the well is, what, 40 feet from the wetland?
No, the 50 is right here. This is a 20 scale. I actually have a scale. I have a scale plan with me. I could give you the number.
But
The well's at 42 feet.
that's what I said, 40 feet.
Okay. I just said 42.
Now down toward the road, driveway, anything that can be done here, this is,
With the driveway, in this area here, we have to put the driveway inside the frontage for the lot. We can't take any frontage from this lot, but we actually have a 12-foot wide easement here for construction and other entrance, for other vehicles to come in. There's an easement to facilitate possible fire trucks, emergency, and construction vehicles. And then we propose planting 3 red maples in this area here.
Nate, anything?
And I'm sorry if I didn't hear all of Flora's question earlier, the the proposed clearing area, is that notated in the plan? Or explain to me a little bit more about what's going to be cleared around the house.
Well, really, all that's going to be cleared around the house would be the area for the house itself. I mean, we could update the plan, but over here where the recharge basins are, we'd have to clear there. We'd have to clear up, I'd say 5 to 8 feet around where the building itself is going to be. You know, and then for the driveway, and the septic area is pretty well cleared out now. If you did the walk out there, you can see where the old test pits were. You know, that's the only thing we got permission to go on, was to do soil testing, which we did with the agent, and he approved the plan.
And you mentioned there was some runoff mitigation that you were proposing as well. Like in the towards the front of the house. Did I hear that correctly?
I'm
Like
having trouble hearing.
like runoff from the hill. There was some sort of mitigation that you were putting in there as well.
Well, what we're doing is there's a, up in here, there's an interceptor swale that we're showing that would catch, and then also there's a retaining wall on the top side of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I appreciate that it has been like moved out of the 50 foot buffer zone. Still we have the 25 and the, can you move the map a little bit?
So you have disturbance within the 25, and per the definition in the bylaw, the driveway still is considered a structure, so you'd be needing to approve a waiver for disturbance within the 25, and you'd still be approving a waiver for disturbance within the 50, or a new structure within the 50.
I was gonna show you that, but, oh, it's working now.
Dead batteries.
Yep. Range. 25.
Then nothing can be done, right, because of the frontage.
No, we can deny the waiver.
Yeah, that's the only way to get to that property. So we're actually doing a, like a land swap with the existing house to be able to get that, to stay out of the wetland,
Right, no.
you know, because that's the only way to get to the upland.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
try to
this-
do everything possible
This
to
area here,
not touch it, you know?
up into this area here, and then up top is going to be now part of this lot, and then area up on above will be part of this lot, and it'll be an even area swap. We actually have the plans here, we're dropping them off with Gene for the Form A.
The what?
There's a Form A plan in A&R. When you swap land from one lot to another, it's got to be signed by the planning board.
A&R stands for approval not required, so
Correct.
I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah.
Wait, could you go behind the sewage system there or not?
Well, this really is, if you walk the site.
It's a,
You pushed it back,
You'd be up in the hill.
yeah, I know, but each time that we've, send them back, they've come back with it a little further up the hill. That's,
Oh, I meant if you rerouted the driveway.
yeah.
so you can't push.
Well, yeah, the question, whether the driveway reroutes or not,
Yeah.
it still has to enter through the front of the lot, per the town regulations, through the bylaws.
But you own both lots, right?
Yes.
Technically 3.
What?
Technically 3. Because
Three,
this is
yeah.
Well,
technically
there's
2
another one
lots.
over here that's completely in the wetland. There's the plans.
Yeah. Once this is approved, those two lots are.
No, I'm just
basically
wondering
combined.
if there's any way to move the driveway out of the 25.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like if you.
So
move
if you
the-
push it somehow up the leach field.
Like up here?
Permission to approach?
I'm sure, go ahead.
There's a more detailed look at the lot next door. There's an existing pool, deck, septic system, well.
Uh-oh. We have a sign that says, "Do not touch or move the microphone."
So on this side, there's an existing pool here, there's a fenced area around it, there's a septic field here, there's a well, and then we have an existing driveway.
Oh, so where's the, so this is an existing,
There's a new septic also being installed.
oh, so you can't move.
Here's the
You think
existing
around-
driveway, and this is the line that we're changing now to move over.
I'm just wondering, so you wouldn't be able to move the driveway around here?
We still have to enter by the wetland in the front.
Yeah, but here, oh,
I think what he's saying is he wants to try to
Move the
move this like
Right.
straight up higher,
right.
right over here.
Right, but what about the whole front? The whole front is where it's closest to the well.
Right.
Is it
Yeah,
possible
because once
to-
you get to this area right here, you're outside the 25, right here.
What about like using the, like, I know that you cannot use the driveway of the other property, but
Well, there's
you are changing the property lines. Can you change the property lines so that the driveway of 344 now belongs to?
The lot at 344 needs 150 feet of frontage, and if you look at the plan, it has 150 feet of frontage to that lot corner. Can't change the frontage. We can only change the sideline.
And shared driveway wasn't possible, right?
Shared driveway wasn't
Yeah.
possible, so we came over and they said we had to keep 3 feet away from the edge of the existing driveway.
And I understand why the town does that with no shared driveways, just so neighbors, don't fight.
Yeah, we don't argue with you.
Yeah.
That's not our,
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah, the thing,
I used to live in a townhouse, so I shared a wall.
Stop helping.
I think you should do a sub house off of that. The house you want.
An ADU,
What?
an ADU.
Yeah. They call it an E.
Yeah,
I
but
think
an
they
A-
just replaced
an
the
ADU, like,
septic.
you can't sell it separate, can you?
No, you can't. No. No, I'm just trying to give you a solution for usage. Well, everybody's kind of stymied. What changes do you have to make to this plan before we can you give us this plan with the extent of the clearing on it? Marked line, which
Yes.
shows the exact extent of the clearing and where the hay bales would go on the site. I would think that would be critical.
Okay, we do show, I don't have my thing on, we have erosion control barrier.
Yeah, well, see, that's not good enough, I don't think. If you're gonna be right up against the 50, you gotta work up against the 50. An example, the belly of the area, just that you just pointed out,
Yeah.
you showed me a, you
Okay,
guys can tighten that up.
all right, yes. That was down there before, and then there was a question of where the trees were gonna be planted. Does erosion control have to go up past the trees we're gonna put in, or just on the work that we're gonna do?
Ed, if I may.
What?
Can I comment on the replacements? So when we went out and observed the new location, this area where you're proposing the placements looks pretty vegetated, and there is a high tree canopy. I am concerned with the replacement of the oaks because, one, they're planted pretty close together. A mature oak's gonna have, what, about a 20-foot span? So within a couple years, these are gonna end up growing into each other and not have their full canopy, but also it's with the existing tree canopy, which we might have a better visualization of once we understand the limit of clearing, but their oaks need a lot of sunlight to grow too. And if it's in a shaded area where you're planting them, they're not going to grow. So I just think that's something that we should be discussed too before we keep doing continuous revisions to try and
Yeah.
find something that's going to work. And if you're gonna do a
What spots are you talking
plan,
about with the,
these here.
all of them?
So mature oaks, these are what they're proposing to replace, and I think there's some maples down at the front, but, they might not take if they don't have the correct amount of sunlight to grow. And if they do, you know, within 10 years or so, they're going to start growing into each other because of the growth rate of oaks. If we're moving forward with a continuation and another revision, in addition to showing the limit of clearing, I would also recommend showing any outlier trees beyond that limit of clearing that might need to be removed as well, any hazardous or dangerous trees that need to be identified too.
Oh, absolutely. I would consider an outlier to be a part of the limit of clearing. You know,
Yeah,
if they're
I mean,
gonna-
I would put anything, typically on new projects like one that we recently approved, the erosion control barrier sometimes serves as the limit of a clearing, so we would assume anything within that is going to be cut. And then anything, any random trees outside of that that need to be specifically called out on, that, you know, can be impacted too. So it just, if that's the route that you're going in, it just, I think it needs to be very clear on what exactly is going to be cut, because we would also, in those cases, I put it in the order of conditions that the erosion control barriers need to be verified by a surveyor to ensure that the limit of clearing was not too generous if the project
Yeah,
moves
that's-
forward.
Well, that's why I want to see it.
Through the chair, what is the correct spacing for oaks? How would you like us, I mean, one up in this area here, one in this area here, a 20-foot in between?
I mean, I would honestly, it's not my expertise in oaks. I've just seen how they grow. I would talk to a forester or an arborist on
I
their
didn't know if you had a
recommendation.
set number because you knew how they were too close, so.
Yeah, I don't know what the
Our
recommended
size.
width.
You're
I've,
proposing to plant
3-inch,
3-inch diameter.
yeah. 4 feet off the ground, 3-inch thick.
in situations similar like that, when they're doing a vegetative wall with larger mature trees, I don't recall the distance that it's spaced out, but usually it's more in a staggering pattern than in a line, so they don't grow into each other.
Oh, all right. I was just trying to make a barrier,
Yeah.
to tell you the
Well, if you're
truth.
not going down this far to clear,
Right. So if you don't want them at the 25-foot line, I just thought that it would demarcate the 25 where you couldn't touch or go into it. I thought it would be better to put them there.
but do you have to remove existing vegetation to put new vegetation? Because it's pretty vegetated over there. It's just, that, I mean, that's for the commission to decide and discuss. I'd like to point that
No,
out,
it's a
so, and give them the proper direction for what you want to see.
Absolutely. Planting would not be outside the limit of clearing. Otherwise, you're going to plant where and around the building.
All right, I understand.
Yeah. And it showed the limit of clearing,
All right.
because this soft underbelly that you have here, the kind of thing I see disappearing if we don't have a limit of clearing. And I wish there was some way you could do some auguring to give us an honest opinion of what we're going to end up with here for a foundation. I'm not saying it's a dishonest, but, you know, a better opinion of what you're going to end up with.
We give them a temporary approval to do the things that you talked about.
Yeah. Can I get a temporary, we have a track machine over here. We could bring the
No,
machine
I saw
over.
it, that, you know,
That's under an order of conditions to replace the septic system in this area.
right, I know, I saw the path of it. An extensive path.
Did he, I told him he had to keep it inside of a ring of silt fence.
You can't drive those things without.
No, I just meant when it's stationary and you're not at the machine, it should be behind an erosion
Warren,
control.
would you agree to that? If we had them go in and, because you got the wrong bucket on that thing. You got a broad bucket on it.
I would recommend just getting a little bit of detail for the access that would need to be going through there, but we could issue, under the bylaw, issue a wetland bylaw permit to do some boring samples, some ledge samples.
Right.
To be able to explore that area. But I would wanna make sure the commission is clear on what type of equipment being used, because as we know, it's vegetated in that area, so how wide of a path needs to be cleared to get to that area.
Carson,
I have a question that I don't know if it's possible. To keep the 150, can I have the pointer?
oh,
Thank
sure.
That one's dead.
I don't know, like, what are those regulations, but if you change the property line, like to be this, oh,
I'm gonna go
where is
down.
it? Oh, there it goes, thank you. Like to be here, so you use the existing driveway, but here you got it that way.
And then the other house doesn't have a
There we
driveway.
go.
So now you keep the frontage, but it's like a very narrow frontage with an angle. And now you get the 25-foot buffer is here, so you enter the driveway like there, towards here. Go that. And
No,
then you
but-
keep it outside that.
We have to enter inside the frontage.
Well, but if you change the frontage to be like
I
this.
can't change the frontage, or I'll have an illegal lot.
He's right. The problem.
Can, well, like, when my,
Tell us the slope change.
can they make an exception? Why do we have to make the waivers and not them?
I've been saying that for a long time.
I was like, conservation always has
Yeah.
to make the waivers. It's like, it's only a couple of feet, like, for a frontage.
I mean, we've tried 8 or 9 different plans on this, just trying to keep
I know it's so hard.
being less intrusive, less intrusive, less intrusive, and moving, and coming up with new ideas.
Yep. I wouldn't think you've presented us 8 or 9, but.
Well, we had one where we were gonna be 10 feet off the line, one where we were gonna be 14 feet
Sometimes
off.
it's verbal, sometimes. But I think we should allow for a dig hole on the back of the area where they're going to have the foundation.
I understand that, but I would be concerned of us like giving permission to do that, but then not approving the project because the driveway is in the 25, and then spending like a lot of money to do that.
And then
So we kind of like to be clear first if you're going to be allowing the 25. I think, like for me, at this point, it's not the house anymore. Like that is great. If they can be built or not, that's another question. Or how they're going to be doing it. But I would feel uncomfortable making them spending like more money like to dig and like.
You're right. You're right.
Then,
I'll also point out, Nate and Roy both have to abstain. Eric is not present today, and he has only missed this one meeting for this hearing. So if he signs the Mullen form, which he's already asked me for, and we send him the recording, he'd be eligible to vote. So for today, Ed, Flor, and Karsten are the only 3 eligible members to vote. So if you decide to move forward and close the hearing today and vote on the waiver, it's just the 3 of you. So
Yeah.
pointing that out too.
Well, I don't feel comfortable in moving forward, voting on it right now.
You don't feel forward
Yeah.
on voting? Okay.
We should get the demarcation and if you're willing to go in there and dig a hole and see if you can find a spot without any rock, it's up to you. The next meeting. Say something.
But does,
I thought we just told them we didn't want them to spend the money because irrespective of what the,
So you want to go to a vote on it?
well, I don't get to vote,
No, I know, I know. I wasn't.
but I think, just to give them.
Can I
some
can I just throw something random out, Mr. Chairman? Can you do a straw vote that's not binding?
We don't do that, no.
All right, well, I was just trying to think of it, like you were trying to think of what I was just trying to think of what.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, can you put some more vegetation near the
Certainly.
driveway with a 25-foot zone so that it less runoff and,
We could propose some low bush shrubs along that area too, and we can, another,
Well, there is a lot of vegetation there too, so you have to ask if removing vegetation to put new vegetation, what's gonna grow with the new canopy too? It's just,
Yeah.
it's a lot to consider. But, to Flora's point too, there's 2 waivers to consider as well. It's still disturbance of the 25 and new structure within the 50, even though the house has been moved out.
If we ask them to take a look at the foundation and determine whether it would have to be blasted or not, does that change any of our considerations about what's happening with the house outside of the 50?
It's still the 2 waivers, but
The reason is, my experience has been, if they are able to find a place for a solid house, the rest of the site usually flows out better.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's going to be one of those sites that everything goes downhill, and it all ends up in the well.
Understood.
I mean, that's an exaggeration, but,
Can I ask a question about like, for me, like, my point of view right now is like trying like to see how we can like get that driveway, because I think like for me it's like the limiting factor right now, and like at least like for my perspective. Can you remind me for that road that is on the 25-foot buffer, what are the measures to avoid runoff into the wetland and sedimentation flowing into the wetland? Like just a little reminder, because
Through the chair, right now, there's just erosion control shown, and there's some new plantings that are shown along the edge. Driveway.
that's it.
and
Fairly flat areas there.
do you have an estimate of the area, the 20-foot buffer that would be affected, maybe compared to
To the whole
the
thing?
area or something like that?
There's a square footage on the plan somewhere.
So you can't move it at all, let's say even half.
We can't go past the property corner, we have to stay actually 3 or 5 feet off the property corner.
So this,
It has to enter
it
on the
can't be
property line.
made narrower either.
Well, it's 12 feet at the entrance because there was concern about emergency vehicle stuff coming in, but now that we've provided an easement over this other side, we could narrow this to 8 feet and then still have a 12-foot wide here for emergency vehicles.
I don't think Heather will
No,
allow
that's,
that.
I think I wanted, but I
If it
guess.
went to 8, it would be 4 feet further away from the resource area.
I would double check with the highway department before you make that change, because if that's not gonna
I
be
think
permanent.
we've gone about as far as we can go here. You guys, you can ask for a vote, or you can take a continuation, go back and see if you can fashion some of the things we've talked about. Take a look at the whole, see, mark the extent of the excavation on the entire site. Come back, it's your call.
No, through the chair.
All
When
three
you say
would-
mark, you mean mark in the field or mark on the plans?
On the plan.
Yeah, we can do that for the next, meeting. We've been agreeable every single time we've been asked to.
Yeah,
I won't be here next meeting, but so it's Eric then.
yeah, but we'll still have 3 votes. So it's up to you, continuation or ask for a vote now.
Yep, to Kirsten's point, if you continue to June 26th, then you would still only have 3 eligible voters, but Eric will be here.
Or,
I
could
mean,
go
obviously,
to
you can't
July
get a feel
4th.
for the votes right now, just,
you
yeah,
want
the
to
odds.
The way it sounded, it's,
What?
might not have 3 votes. It sounded like.
July 4th. We'll continue to the July meeting.
Okay.
July, what's the?
17th?
17?
Oh, it's July 17th.
Motion?
July
In
4th.
regards to the project at 346 Ledman Road, DEP file number 300-1226, I make the motion to continue the public hearing to July 4th.
17?
July 4th.
17, sorry.
I'd rather not be here on July 4th.
Oh, yes, that's like,
Second.
that's fine familiar. July 17th, sorry.
Second.
Second.
have to take this back.
Go to the planning board.
So,
All right, all in favor?
Carsten Stüber in favor.
Sandra Bland in favor.
Bishop abstained.
So then, so then he will not
All right.
dig. Since we continue. We will not be able to dig and check out.
And now, I notice that in terms of 241 and 241 the owner is Sturbridge Service Center. Applicant Representative Rob Lucier, CMG Environmental, DEP file number 300-1184.
The applicant is requesting a continuance. They did email Heather about that stormwater, that manhole cover that we saw under the property, so he's trying to touch base with her to see if there's something there, but just fine tuning any plan, revisions on the plan, and they should be present at the next meeting.
For the project at 241 and 246 Main Street, the EP fund number 300-1184.
Laura, you can't make the motion.
Oh, I cannot make the motion, it's a continuation.
No.
Sorry.
What, because, oh, she cannot vote on it?
Correct. Nate and Floor cannot vote on that.
Roy
Roy,
can.
Karsten, and Ed.
Why can't you? Or you?
Okay, with regard to the project at 241 and 245 Main Street, DEP file number 300-1184, I make a motion to continue the public hearing until June 26th.
Second.
Discussion, seeing none, all in favor?
Carsten Stüber in favor.
St. Germain abstains.
The Bishop in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor. Can we go from number 8 and go to Big Allen Vegetation
We
Management?
can do that.
You all right with that, Laura?
Of course.
So, I represent Big Allen,
Do you want to sit at the table
sit there?
and name and address for the record, sorry?
The number of where it's at is on the paper I have right here.
Sorry.
Also take a chocolate.
Paper that you had on your side.
My name is Chuck Roy, and I represent Big Allen Lake Association, and I'm here to request a change in our order of conditions. Not really a change, but we were the first ones to abide by the request of the Conservation Committee a couple years ago to get go ahead with our new order of conditions. We had GEI produce them, and A.J. Reyes was the engineer involved. But the way he wrote the order of conditions, if you read the order of conditions, it says a maximum of 10 acres can be treated for filamentous algae or blue-green algae throughout Big Allen Pond. I don't know if he didn't understand, or I certainly didn't understand at that time, so I didn't pick it up. But the problem is that 10 acres, if you're treating just a filamentous mat, that's fine, if you can see it floating on the surface, if you're going to treat it with copper sulfate, something like that. However, if you wind up, and what we're trying to do is be proactive, not reactive, we're starting at, we've started testing the water. We've never had a blue-green algae outbreak at Big Allen. We've only had green algae, and it usually dissipates within a few weeks. It's not a threat to anybody, and if that continues, what we're talking about now is not really important. However, I know that Cedar Pond has had a blue-green algae outbreak, and I know that they did their order of conditions, and that they specified that they would like to proactively test the waters and treat if necessary, and that's what we'd like to do. We'd like to have it so that we can use copper sulfate in a broader application, not just putting it on a mat, but using it to treat, if tests show that we're starting to get higher counts of the cyanobacteria, then we could treat it with copper sulfate in a more 1/3 the lake, at one time, which is the label rate. It's a very low dose, and then you might need another treatment and then another. I believe this is what Cedar Lake has put in their OOC. We should have put it this way in our OOC. We didn't, because we didn't know any better. Anyway, that's what we're asking is that we would come, in if we tested and found that, and I think this is how Cedar Lakes reads, if we test and find that we have a blue-green algae bloom, we would come in front of you. I think we have, I think Cedar Lakes says 5 days, something like that.
Is that what it is, 5 days?
Yep, so basically what we're proposing is the same exact amendment that we made last month to Cedar Lakes that would just apply to Big Alum.
Yeah, we have no problem with that.
Okay, sounds good.
Great, I appreciate it.
Yeah, so, give us something,
Give us what?
give us something in writing.
Okay, so make the changes and then bring it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
What we have them via email, and I had shared with them what we had just done for Cedar Lake. So it'd just be amending the special conditions in
Yeah.
those two instances, so it'd look just like how Cedars was.
Could we vote on that now, or
Sorry?
can we vote on this now? or-
Everybody
Anybody
could-
want any discussion on it? I didn't mean to be,
Oh,
yeah.
And it's not a hearing, so you don't need to close a hearing, and all 5 of you would be able to vote since it's just a change to an existing order.
All in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor?
St. Germain in favor?
We're Bishop in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor?
Nathan Lane in favor.
Thank you. So we'll get that change and I'll get it to Lauren and,
Yeah.
thank you for your time.
Sorry to keep you sitting here.
That's okay. I learned something.
You're the only one. You didn't enjoy
If I
it.
had to do it like you guys do it, maybe I wouldn't like it so much. Thank you.
All right, so now we are at notice of intent for 30 River Road, and that's a continuation also?
Applicant is requesting a continuation. They are actively trying to get their ducks in a row. I spoke with the camp manager, who's trying to get everything under control, and he is making contact with people who have been involved in the project, so they're actively working on things.
So, continuation.
And I cannot vote on that one.
This is all for the vegetation.
Yes, you
This
can.
request is for the vegetation management, which still doesn't have a DEP file number, which they filed over 2 months ago.
We cannot
Roy is-
open because he doesn't have a DEP number, so we cannot
It can
continue.
still open. It just, you can.
Okay.
If it doesn't have a DEP file number, I would just never recommend that the commission closes a hearing and makes a decision. The hearing can still open without it.
Oh, okay.
Roy and Eric are
Okay.
the only 2 that cannot vote.
And we continue to
Derek's
June
not here.
26th. Okay, so in regards to 30 River Road, is that one?
Yep, 30
Yes,
River.
30 River Road. The lines mixed. 30 River Road project, no DEP file number. Make the motion to continue the public hearing to June 26th.
Second.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
St. Germain in favor?
We're Bishop abstaining.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Nathan Lane in favor.
We're now on to 71 Mashpog Road.
That's the one that
Request to continue to June 26th. Roy is the only one that needs to abstain.
Okay. Continuation.
Okay, so in regards to project at 71 Moshpog Road, DEP file number 300-1224, make the motion to continue the public hearing to June 26th.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
St. Germain in favor?
We're Bishop abstain.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Nathan Lane in favor.
So we're now to, what do you want to do next? We did
12.
Big Allen. Down there. Where do you want to go to?
Number 12, 62 Mount Dan, COC.
Dan Road. Request for a certificate of compliance.
This project was for installation of a cantilever dock. There were minimal special conditions, everything complied, the site is stable, there was no regrow, planting or anything. Perpetual condition number 34 would still apply. Recommendation to issue certificate of compliance for the project.
Yeah. How did it come out? I'd like to take a look at it.
Looks like it looks like a cantilever dock and like all the other ones that we've seen.
Everything's all covered over, so you
Yeah.
can't see anything?
Right. And I looked for signs of erosion on the water side, but it's, I mean, it's done to completion. There's no requirements to inspect beforehand.
All right.
Motion. Regards to the project as 62 Mountain Town Road, DP file number 300-1181, make the motion to issue a certificate of compliance with perpetual conditions 34.
Second.
Discussion, I'd like the site visit with the committee to take a look at what they're doing, so you know what you're doing. So, that's all I would say about it.
You want to vote?
So do we vote for it or what?
There's a motion.
Well, if you vote for it, no.
There is a motion out there, so someone has to second the motion. If no one seconds the motion, then there needs to be another motion.
Carson seconded.
But I didn't, but
Okay.
you didn't want to have the motion in the first place.
You know. Right. I
Everyone
didn't-
else acts either, Ed would say abstain or say no. You have a motion, you have a second, so you would do the roll call.
We can abstain. So you want to go and visit it again, or?
I want to take a look at it, yeah. I'd like the committee to look at it, too.
Okay. So then I abstain.
But are we
Do you-
going to be looking at
You
all?
already seconded.
Do you want to
certificates of
revoke your
compliance?
motion?
What?
That's what you mean, like that?
No,
we're
I
going
just
to be-
want you guys to see what these cantilever docks look like.
Oh, but
But they look good.
What?
They look good.
they look good, but we've seen like so many of those.
This wasn't one that wasn't as extensive as a lot of the other ones that we've seen recently that had, landscaping and boulder improvements and everything. This one was just kind of the dock.
Yeah,
We have more extensive ones, and in the year that I've been here, the special conditions are a lot more extensive than they were for this one. This was only about 2 pages. It was pretty
So
brief.
my question
This was
is,
prior to my,
will it change our decision to issue the certificates of compliance if we see it or not?
in my opinion, no, it's still gonna look the same.
is
The
the
site's
same.
stable. There was no outstanding conditions.
If it's-
my reason for wanting to go see it is because it might change your mindset for the next one.
But, yes, I completely understand that. We can like add a site visit
Yeah.
of this, but I don't know if we should block
That-
the
that's
issue
a
of the
valid
certificates of compliance.
That's a valid point.
Yeah, it's just, because if it's not going to make just like, otherwise we are going to be like moving things to other meetings.
Yep.
But we can like go and see like
Yeah.
this.
Or I can, even for our next round of site visits, I mean, there's plenty of them. I can find one specifically that I know has been done that's en route of our site visits too, to
Yes,
pinpoint
or
one, whether it's
even
this one
like-
or another one, there's
Well,
plenty to see.
Even make a visit midway of the construction or something like that if we
Yeah.
wanted to.
Okay.
Or
Oh.
purchases.
All right, all in favor of approving the,
So we approve it now?
So do your roll call.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
it was, that's what you seconded, so we
What?
have to vote on it.
What are we voting on now?
We are voting to issue the certificate for compliance.
Do we want to do that or not?
You already seconded it, so it's already in motion. So you can either revoke your motion and we go back, or we move forward.
I mean, are there other cantilever decks that we can see?
There's so many. We
Is
can
this
do a
one-
cantilever dock tour.
Is this one of the bigger ones that we approved?
It's a longer one. There's bigger ones that have been,
It's 8 feet
Square footage
wide and
wide.
32 feet long.
8 wide, yeah.
there's another one that we approved that's 8 feet wide and 35 feet, and I
Well, this
think
one's in
there's
front
a
of us.
42-foot one too.
Let's deal with the one that's in front of us. Let's,
So
Carson?
I abstain then.
Would you like to formally revoke your motion? Your
No,
second?
I can
Oh,
only,
he can still like second, I think.
Okay.
Like,
So you're-
because
okay.
it's like the second like moves to the vote,
Huh?
but then you vote
Yep.
abstain.
I abstain, yeah.
Okay, so no.
I'm in favor. Saint Germain in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor.
Ed Goodwin opposed.
Nathan Lane abstain. I don't think I have an opinion here. I'm not going to swing an opinion on this one.
All right.
Okay, so we have to visit.
So we have
So
like,
it's denied.
Huh?
It's denied, essentially.
It's the first one that we have like that. It was so exciting.
All right, what's next?
320 the trail. Nope, we already did 11. We're on 13.
13, huh?
If I'm
Oh,
right.
pushed it down.
Ed really has something.
28 Camp Road?
Nope, that's 14.
What happens to the trail?
320 the trail,
Only the trail.
certificate of compliance.
Sorry. 320 the Twirl, request for certificate of compliance, replacement of a boulder retaining wall.
You want to table that, right?
This was not the dock, this is just the boulder wall. Overall, I mean, the project looks great, it's complete, it's stable. However, per the certificate of compliance, it did require a 2-season growing season for the vegetation that was there. So I would request that we table this and that the applicant would come forward again in the spring after we've ensured the survival period. I don't have any concerns on the site, just per the order of conditions, it shouldn't be issued yet.
Okay. So regarding the project like 320, at least we'll have some discussion.
We can have discussion.
Regarding the project at 320 the trail, DEP file number 300-1218, I make the motion to table the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Second?
Second, any problems?
Any discussion?
It's kind of dangerous to second the motion.
Let's go, all in favor?
Saint Germain in favor.
Yeah, Carsten Stüber in favor.
Right?
Roy Bishop in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Nathan Lane in favor.
Now 28 Camp Road. Request for an extension.
Request for a 1-year extension for the development of a single-family home. Visited the site, it's stable, they've installed the dry wells, they provided pictures of the installation process of the dry wells per the order of conditions. It's just kind of some finishing, they haven't finished the driveway, but the site is stable, the project's coming along quickly. There might be a minor change, there was originally a barn that was going to be on the property, and they're most likely going to remove the barn from the plan and just keep it at just the house, so they're trying to decide if that's their final action. They're working with Mark Farrell on getting the as-built as well.
If they make any changes, do they have like to?
I mean, if it's a
That's why
change,
it's not
you would just be so say if the change is, the only modification is that they just did not build something, that's something that I would just recommend that you acknowledge and accept within the certificate of compliance request. If it was something that was, we're moving the location of the barn, or it's going to be bigger, less of an impact, in my recommendation, I don't think that needs to go through a change process, because I think that everyone can kind of agree that less of an impact is always a win. So, my recommendation is to grant the 1-year extension.
Laura, you?
Regards to 28 Camp, do you want me like to make a motion?
Yeah, make a
Okay,
motion.
good, I can make the motion. Regarding the project at 28 Camp Road, at DEP file number 300-1100, I make the motion to grant a 1-year extension.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Second first, right? Oh, Carsten Stüber in favor.
Saint Germain in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor?
Nathan Lane in favor.
Okay.
So now we're on to Paradise?
Yes, and I apologize, I guess this did make it into the thing. Okay, I lied, it is in the detailed, I didn't think it was. There's a open order of conditions for the raise and rebuild of 110 Paradise Lane. Before they were able to begin work, the planting plan had to be approved. They presented a planting plan to us 2 months ago, and my recommendation that it was insufficient and we would have liked to see more on the shore, on the water side. It is limited over there compared to especially some of the other raise and rebuilds that we've done. Let me just kind of go back to, okay. So this was the original replanting plan that they had provided us, and pretty much everything was the rear of the house.
Right.
And we wanted to see more. There are hedges that are in front of the water here and going down, and trees in the property line, but considering the removal, and this is only about like 55, 60 feet of lake frontage, so it is more narrow than it looks on paper, but there was still room for improvement. So the proposal, in addition to all the houses, the trees in the rear, is now a dogwood in this area and one that's closer to the water. So with those revisions, and in addition to the other trees and the existing shrubs that are on the shoreline and the trees on the hedge line, I think that, in my opinion, it's, you know, a better effort.
It's going to have more trees near the shoreline than what it has now.
Yes, and it's consistent with what we've been requiring for all of the raise and rebuilds on that same street too. This is actually a little bit more considering their frontage, but of course we would love to see more trees and especially bigger species of trees, but there's...
Well, I think we should require more trees, and I don't think we should be doing decorative trees. I think we should make them, put in a couple big shade trees on the water side.
It's, so there's
Shade
pines on the side, yeah, it's just limited because there's shrubs here, so they're not going to be able to get too close to the shoreline because there's vegetation on right here and right here. And, you know, just from the perspective is
But if you,
of consistency, because the house next door, there was no required plantings in the 25-foot, and
I'm not gonna play
And
the
there was way more
Eric game.
frontage.
I'm just trying to do as well as I can on each site,
absolutely.
you know, and I can't even click this thing, but you saw it, and you showed it to me in the other form, and it was nothing on the water side, everything to the back.
We have a picture, by any chance?
Go to the trees, just for a minute.
Hold on.
Uh,
So
that's it.
this is a fall picture, so it's hard to see. These are all shrubs, and then these are all trees here. This obviously is just of the shoreline. I didn't do the rear.
Yep.
but-
And they're going to plant one tree.
One
So
decorative.
it's like that. So
One
one
decorative.
Dogwood here and one over here.
No,
Go back to the listing of trees, please. Okay, so.
That's not the approved. This is the mitigation.
But that isn't the,
So you can specify of the 4 that they're required, you can specify which species you prefer. They're just proposing, in addition to the 4 and the 13, they're also proposing the 2 more dogwoods.
but again, the stuff that they're proposing is not on the water side.
Yeah, this was all on the rear,
Yeah.
on that ledge slope.
So I think we should, you know, be looking for, instead of a flowering dogwood, red maple in its place. White oak is good. Black birch is great around the water.
sounds good.
And then the red oak at the bottom. Where is that gonna be?
Of this list, these are what's proposed behind the house.
Behind the
The
house.
2 dogwoods were in addition to that. If you would like for me to communicate, And this, I mean, this can be in the motion that if they would be, or, you know, depending on how you want to go, if they want to, if they're willing to replace one of those dogwoods on the lake side with a red maple instead,
That would be great.
that you would, you know,
I'd be happy. with
bless
that.
moving forward if they're willing to that. If they're not willing to that, then they bring back something else and come present something else in another meeting.
Maybe closer to the water will provide a little bit more shade in the water, create a shaded,
Yeah.
increase the water.
It's on the western side,
Oh, okay.
but I mean, nutrients infiltration, it doesn't not have its benefit.
I think that's a good idea. Closer to the water.
Okay.
We don't want to have it fall on the house. I'm being sarcastic, but that, well, that's good. That's a plan.
So then my recommendation would be to approve with the planting plan as shown with the minor change that one of the dogwoods at the shoreline be replaced with a red maple.
Right, exactly.
And assuming that they are
Laura
in
made
agreement with
that.
that.
And Preston seconded it.
Make the motion, regarding the project at.
You could just say what I said. Just say so moved.
110 Paradise Lane, DEP file number 300-1225, make the motion to approve the planting plan with the modification of replacing one of the
Dogwoods.
dogwoods for a red
On the
maple
water side. Put it on the water
near
side.
the shore.
Yep,
Second.
great. All in favor?
Carsten Stüber in favor.
San Germano in favor?
Prohibition in favor?
Nathan Lane in favor.
Okay, what do we got here now? Agent update? Enforcements and complaints?
Nothing new, we're just kind of going back and revisiting the existing enforcement orders, working with the one on 48 Bushnell, they're still being active. But, knock on wood, but so far nothing new. Working on closing out some existing items, including the pending certificate of compliance for 6 Picker Lane. They've been able to go out and do some reassessment of the stormwater systems to get those to measure where they are before I would present the certificate of compliance again. In other discussions, we do have, working with Opakam Land Trust and DCR, we're going to be hosting the Your Land, Your Legacy Planning for the Future Land Use on July 19th at 12:30 at the Sturbridge Senior Center. The objective is to session somewhat targeting the senior community that's thinking of planning ahead, but it's going to be kind of a instruction on, or a seminar to help guide people on protecting lands, putting it into chapter land, conservation restrictions.
Say 19th?
June 9th? 9th.
9th, okay.
But it's
July
July
9th.
9th.
They can't be there.
Yep,
The
it's,
19th,
We're more so going to be informative, and the assessor is going to be present too to help answer any like tax questions. But we're looking forward to this moving forward, and just one in a series of things that we're trying to do as more public outreach and education. I've also a couple months ago we had talked about the second generation the rodenticide coagulant ban that Lowell had enacted for banning which we already have the ban in town of rodenticides, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and salts within 100 feet of a wetland buffer. There's bills before the state right now to ban the fast-acting rodenticides that cause blood clotting, which then affects, what we're ingesting and the animals that are ingesting them as well. Lowell was one of the first communities to put it within their regulations. Marlborough has taken the lead, and I am trying to move forward with pushing that forward in Sturbridge as well. That would basically put a ban on using those on citywide property. I've already talked to Michelle for our animal control officer. I'm talking with Board of Health. I'm also talking to DPW on how economically, if there's any impacts there, but that is something not necessarily conservation related, but that we're trying to move forward on. In addition to that, we're working on a series of educational programs for our community on dealing with wetlands, stormwater mitigation, the importance of trees, and just trying to really stress to our community, that lack of understanding and why our regulations exist and why they are important and why permitting exists. We're fortunate enough to have a intern from Tufts this summer that she's graduating from the program that I had taken for my master's, that she's going to be doing educational programs. Right now she's focusing on the lakes. We had our conservation and coffee meeting this week, and one thing that had came from that was, as we all know, nobody likes conservation, and the lake communities especially feel that we overstep. So we are going to be doing kind of a survey for the lake residents on just overall, we're still forming it, but kind of on trying to get why they feel that way, if it's a lack of education, if it's bad encounters that they've had, but trying to see like what their knowledge base is and how they know, like what they know about our regulations and permitting processes too, and trying to use that to expand on lake education, working with updating the welcome packets that Slack provides to the residents. We're also, right now, as all of the, for those that don't know, there was a letter issued from the select board to all of the lake residents to remind them of the existing temporary dock policy, that they're supposed to renew their temporary docks every year. It's a policy that hasn't really been active or enforced, but it has been in existence for several years. And that letter went out, so all of those renewal letters are coming in. Lori and I are reviewing the permits before they go to the select board meetings, going out and visiting all the sites, so at least we're documenting the conditions as they are, because that's part of the problem, is we don't know what's there, what these conditions are like. And obviously while we're there, we're looking for, any concerns, violations, opportunities to educate those residents as well. We have about 16 pending permits right now that we need to go look at various lakes.
Well, that's a big change, and it should have come before this board, because temporary dock permits were privy of the selectmen.
Mm-hmm.
We were not responsible for them. They were.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've turned it over to you guys.
Not necessarily. It was kind of more, I'm looking at from the conservation impact. If we don't know what's there. There's no one from select board that's going out and visiting them. Because basically, if we don't take the initiative from our department to step in on this, to be the ones to go out and to see them, we're going to end up in the same circle that we're in of select board just signing off on permits that no one's looking at, and we're going to end up in problems. We're trying to catch problems before they get there.
Well, back when you were a child, we went through this whole procedure here in town, and it finally resolved it by putting the selectmen, the decision maker, the selectmen. What would happen was they'd come here and say, no, that's not what I'm doing, and they'd go running off to the selectmen. So it became a problem. So
Well, also going back to all of your previous comments and concerns on docks, everything within the 200 feet is our jurisdiction, and we should be having eyes on what's there, because if it's, say someone has a temporary dock and it's on their existing retaining wall, no big deal, but if it turns out all of a sudden someone just put a brand new concrete slab in to put their temporary dock in.
I agree.
It's our opportunity to go on, especially on these private roads where technically we wouldn't really have legal access to. We're getting ahead on something. Yes, it is tedious and it is a task that is beyond our job responsibilities, but no one else is doing it. And if we don't, we're just going to end up in all these situations.
Do it?
No.
You're just doing it on your
We
own?
do have to sign off on the permits. The permit itself that goes before select board requires sign off from my department, just like when someone does a notice of intent, finance department has to sign off that they paid their taxes. So I would not feel comfortable signing off on anything that I haven't physically seen. I think that puts me in a bad position.
Okay, all right.
So it's work, but it's covering us. And I don't want to end up in more situations where select board is signing off on permits that they're not seeing anything through. That's part of why we are in some of the situations that we're already in. And
Well, okay.
so we're working on that. Otherwise, the only other thing for today would be, well, I have of the minutes mentioned, there's one of those minutes that's dropped in the folder for review. Since Karsten isn't going to be at the next meeting, I had bumped up board organization and renewals to this meeting. I did talk to Eric about it before, earlier today when he called me saying he wasn't going to go, be able to attend today, and he's still comfortable with everything moving forward. So this would be board appointments for effective fiscal year, for July, for fiscal year 2026. Roy, you have one more meeting with us, and then you're free, but we will acknowledge and thank you for your service at that meeting. But, so if we would, and then we have Eric that is renewing this year, and then Nate that will be getting appointed to a regular member in Roy's place as well. So if you guys would like to move forward with the board reappointments, Eric's comments were that if you choose to continue to elect him for vice chair, that he's willing to accept it. He's also willing to continue to accept the position as the liaison for SLAC. However, he did want to make the comment that if Flora is open to it, he would like to make a recommendation partially because of your knowledge of the chemical treatments, and in hopes that you can kind of be a voice. So communicating his message, this is not a motion, I'm just relaying what he had told me. So if we would like to start with chair and vice chair, if anyone wants to make any motions.
So I move to suggest Ed as chair and Eric as vice chair.
Second.
Any discussion? Carsten Stuber in favor.
St. German in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Nathan Lane in favor.
As far as liaisons, there's SLAC, Trails, which I think that's kind of going to be a given.
Yeah.
Community preservation.
Let's do trails.
Okay.
Nate?
Is it, my only question is it appropriate?
It is not a conflict. I've already checked.
Okay, so I could do liaison and
Yeah.
Correct.
associate member there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just make it official, shall we?
Would someone
I'm
like
not
to
voting
make
on
a
your salary.
formal?
So I move to,
All in favor?
yeah, do we have to move first or no?
Move to recommend
Nate.
Nate as the liaison for the Trails Committee.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
St. German in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Nathan Lane in favor.
Community preservation, currently Ed. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, and I'd like to do it, and I'd like to not do it. The problem is what happens with somebody from CPC is required to be on housing.
And you're on housing too.
And I'm on housing, and the only reason I'm on housing is because no one else would do it.
I would have done it if I stayed.
So I guess I'd like to stay on,
Okay, I think that's settled then. You stay on it in
yeah, but
the communities.
Do we have a formal motion?
I move and suggest Ed as liaison for the community
Community preservation, CPC.
What exactly is it?
Community Preservation Committee.
What is the different, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
St. German in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Nathan Lane in favor.
And then,
Slack.
last one is SLAC, if anyone wants to have any discussion, or Laura, if you have any comments.
So what
please
is, my constraint is when they are meeting. And
So
they're
right
saying-
now, they meet when we meet. We did discuss this with them and said, hey, we have a liaison that's supposed to go to your meetings, but we can never go because you're always at the same time. So SLAC's gonna meet and discuss to talk about potentially moving their meetings to Wednesdays.
Okay.
But they're in the evening and they're usually at town hall.
So
The
what
other
does,
thing
what
that
does it
she
stand
discussed with them is that
Lake, Stourbridge Lake Association, what we did?
Well, the other thing that she discussed with Slack is that if you can't do it, you can send one of us.
Yeah, if for what, 'cause especially that's such an important committee, and there is a huge communication gap there that we're really missing out on. They have so many concerns that never just make it their way. Like, we don't, half the time, we don't even get their meeting minutes to be able to look at them and see what's going on. But if there was ever like scheduling issues that, you know, say, assuming that it becomes floor, that if you weren't able to do it, that depending on what's on their agenda too, if we know in advance, like, I would be more than willing to step in if it works with my schedule. Talk to Lori and see if that would be something she'd be open to too, but it's a very important committee, and it's, you know,
And is it like
big gap there.
once a month?
Once a month, and they don't meet in the off-season,
Okay.
so.
So I move to propose Flor as liaison for SLAC, for the SLAC committee.
I second that.
Carsten Stüber in favor?
And Sherman in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor?
That's good.
And then as far as meeting minutes, we're going through all of these. Obviously, a bit of a learning gap with Elisa's doing minutes, and then now with Lori taking them over. So the only ones that were shared on there were the meeting minutes from the 3rd, and of those present, well, I can actually look on here. For 4-3, everybody was present at that meeting, minus Nate, because he was, oh wait, Nate, that was your first meeting. So technically, everyone can vote on those.
This, the
Make a
April
motion
3rd.
to approve the minutes for April 3rd?
Yes.
Second.
Discussion?
Errors, correction. Carsten Stüber in favor?
And Sherman in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor?
Ed Goodman in favor.
Nathan Lane in favor.
Site visits, my recommendation is Tuesday, June 17th, or Wednesday, June 18th. Tuesday's my preference, but
I'm, the 18th is best for me. Is that Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday is the soccer game, Borussia Dortmund.
During the day?
Yeah. It's in East Rutherford Stadium
Oh, nice.
against the.
You're gonna love it.
I know, my kids love it.
I'm sorry, what were those dates?
The 17th or the 18th, Tuesday or Wednesday.
Wednesday is better.
Yeah, I prefer, my son has an eye doctor on Wednesday.
We can also do Monday, the 16th too, but,
Yeah, yes, either the 16th or the 18th for me is good.
I drive down the 16th.
Okay.
I can do the 18th.
The 18th is
18th?
best for me.
Okay.
okay. So the morning of the 18th, I don't think we have anything yet, right? No one's turned anything in early. As of right now, I am not aware of any new projects for that. We have a pending site visit for 30 River Road. I'm letting them they're getting their stuff together, and I recommended that they all meet on site first before we come on site. I think that's the only other, and we'll do a cantilever dock,
8:30?
8:30.
You like it earlier?
Especially getting in the summer.
Huh?
No.
Personally, for the winter, I like the afternoons when it's a little warmer, and the mornings in the summer. But,
I don't teach over summer, then I
yeah.
don't necessarily have to get up that early.
I
do my
don't know if anyone else
exercise.
has anything.
I do my
or-
exercise in the morning, so actually,
So you all set?
yeah.
Unless anyone else, anything else they want to talk about?
Adjourn?
To adjourn?
Yep.
Is there anything you need from me about the member versus alternate?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion, all in favor?
Everybody in favor?
Anyone opposes that, I'm coming for you.
We did.